Hello everypony, welcome to another League of Legends video where I will be talking about the early game of a certain champion. This time, I'm playing Zed into Azir. And also this will be after the rune updates, as you can see. So I'm using Aerie as my keystone, so every time I get to use an ability onto him, Aerie flies to him and does a little bit of extra damage. So that's actually pretty helpful because we have a lot of range. And look at that, there's like half of his HP gone already. And also while we're in this matchup, we also want to make sure that we farm, but be careful because this is a pretty oppressive lane laning into Azir. And so you have to make sure to not get too greedy on the CS that you get. There's not gonna be sure CS all the time. There's gonna be some CS you will just have to give up and concede. But that doesn't mean you're gonna get behind on CS. You can still do fine. Just, you know, you also have your tools to keep him away. But you'll see more of that later as we get all of our skills. So just make sure that you go up to minions, last hit them, but every time you see him approach, Q him. He just ate 2 Qs and Aerie. And there we go. He's starting to, you know, go through his potions. He already burned one of his potions by this point. And here, I know there's minions, they're low life, but I'm not going to go up to the soldiers. And yep, there he goes. The soldiers hop onto me and do a little bit of damage, but I instantly walk out. And that's pretty much how you treat the soldiers. Because I actually can do quite a lot of damage. Whoa, didn't want to do that. Okay, so let's continue watching this. So here we get pushed under tower a little bit. And yes, like I said, we're gonna miss a few minions by doing that. But as long as we don't fall too far behind, we're okay. And we're already out-leveling him a little bit. And here Jax comes in. And we get the first blood onto him. So what I just did there is I did my W, but jumped onto my W at the last second. Because I thought he was, you know, Azir was gonna try to move all his soldiers to my position and hit me. But since I'm mobile, put it to use and dodge the damage. Alright then, so since my work here is done and I do want to see if the enemy jungler does come through here, I go ahead, ward both sides of the river and hit back. Because sometimes, you know, enemy junglers, they love going for the Rift Scuttlers, and when the Rift Scuttler walks too far into the mid lane, you usually see them. You can usually see them if you have your bush ward in, and that could be helpful. So went back, bought a few things. Bought my boots, health potion, and I also bought the item that leads into Duskblade. I bought the component with the armor penetration because we just want to hurt a little bit more. That's just what you're doing, is that you want to hurt people. Oh, I didn't know they had connection issues. Alright then. Well then. So, oh my, okay, so here puts the soldiers onto me, and as you saw just then, I jumped over the soldiers to dodge all of his damage, and still kind of came out on top of that trade. Alright, so now I'm level 5, I have a little bit of damage now, and so the lane slowly becomes a little bit more oppressive. I'm starting to use my W as a zoning tool. See, look how my W just stands there. He's too scared to even come up the minions because he knows he can get queued. And I Q at the last second just before my W shadow thing vanishes, and as soon as my shadow vanishes, I back off, keep a little distance to him. And of course you also have to keep in mind that Azir's minions auto attack with him, so if he's too far, those things won't auto you. Simple as that. Okay, so let's continue just watching. Once again, I Q him, and of course, because of my Keystone Mastery, Aerie instantly jumps over for a little bit more damage, and she surprisingly does a lot of damage. Let's see, I don't think you can see your masteries, or runes as they're now called. There's no more masteries. If you can see all that here, but she does a lot of damage. She does a lot of damage, especially if you can keep chucking her, and, well, you're a mana-less champion. And you pretty much have the ability to chuck abilities non-stop, so, you know, that means Aerie for days. And there you go, another Q, and another Aerie, and there you go, there's half of his HP gone again. And we know what's gonna happen here. And he actually beats me to it, he jumps onto me with the shield, and I have to run away from the soldiers. But he's down to half of his HP. We're both level 6 though. So he knows what can happen if he does, you know, try his luck around me. I'm Zed. And once again I leave my shadow standing in the caster minions. I still have my Q. And there he goes. He puts the soldier inside of the caster minion, so I can't get him without any harass back. And here Thresh comes, and here I cast my W and try to jump there because I was a little hesitant because I thought he was gonna try to predict me, but he actually did predict me. He did hook into my shadow. That's something you have to watch out for when you create in a shadow. People sometimes try to hook the shadow because they think you're gonna jump into it. He actually hooked into my shadow, but I kind of jumped a little earlier than he was hooking, so I was able to barely walk out of that. Could have gone wrong. Alright, so now that I know Thresh is in mid lane, I know bottom lane can exert a little pressure, and I can go in on this boy. And the lane just continues on in this fashion, and here Clyde comes in with me, and I ult, and I get all 3 Qs off onto Azir, and that kills him. So you have to keep in mind your shadow, your ultimate creates a shadow, and your W also creates a shadow. And when you're pressing Q, then you're shooting 3 Qs, and if those 3 Qs hit someone, you're doing a lot of damage to them. That's something you also want to try to do. It's a little difficult to execute. Zed is definitely not an easy to learn champion. You have to be able to use your combos well and work with your mobility. So we push up the wave, get in a couple of hits onto the turret, and then head back, because I did see Rek'Sai in the bottom lane, and I thought she was going to come mid lane, so I did decide to back off. Okay, farm-wise, we're ahead still by 5 minions. It's doing alright. Most farm in the game so far. Well, so yeah, that's pretty much a bit of a rundown, but we're also gonna see a little bit more of the roaming happen. Or at least I tried to roam, but we're also gonna see a little bit more of the aggressive engage. Because once you're getting kills, getting CS, you also want to start to, you know, use that lead and snowball into people. So we have Azir coming into bottom lane, and there's really much I can do since I was, you know, on the way to mid lane. I think he kind of noticed that, so they engage bottom lane, and Twitch dies an unfortunate death. So I stay in lane and, you know, do the only thing that I can do, and that is continue CSing. So I do eventually decide to go down there, but they have this warded anyway, so they kind of knew it was coming, but I didn't know. So I went into the dragon pit, and here I saw the trinket, and I was kind of, you know, was kind of sure that I wasn't supposed to go there. And, you know, just like seconds after I leave the dragon pit, they're all 3 of them coming here. So that ward up here in the bottom part of the river could have really got me into trouble if they reacted to me. And here Azir's back in my lane, and little as you know, things are about to get ugly. Okay, so here we have Rek'Sai coming into tower range, and I use Q, E, and Ignite, and an auto attack, and get the kill. So this is what happens when you get greedy into Zed. You never get greedy into Zed. If people make mistakes onto you, you abuse that like no tomorrow. And my lead just gets bigger with I think I got 2 ganks in early and a little bit of a misplay from them just now, and together with that and just, you know, using my lane aggressively, look at that, Azir's down to half of his HP. Poor dude. Okay, so right now I do realize there is no ward on the top side, so I go back into the bottom half of the mid lane, you know, go towards, quote, the safe side. And just continue CSing. I somehow also got blue buff off of Rek'Sai. And with a little bit of gold in my pocket, I jump from my W up close for a Q, which doesn't work that much, but you know, just trying to keep him on his toes, and he sticks around with half his HP. My ultimate is up. But I also want to make sure that he gets CS. I at least want to make sure that I waste his time, so every time he comes to his minions, I walk up to him and try to get him for a Q. It's just that simple. You're trying to discourage people from farming altogether. And look at that. Azir goes back. He goes back, missing more time in lane, allowing me for more farm. That's just what we want. We just want to have farm. Okay, so we get to queue the caster minions there. About 77 CS, not as good as it could be, but you know we're still making Azir play our game. As long as that happens, you're good. Instead, you're just trying to be oppressive, you know, and scare people, like we did just now. Make them scared of coming into lane or farm for that matter. So we finally managed to complete a few items. Okay, so I get Duskblade, and I also get the magic resistance for the boots. And I managed to complete the boots, but only using my rune, which allows you to go into debt here. That's a very important rune for Zed, because you want to get items early. The earlier you get that stuff, the better. And once again, Azir realizes I'm not here, and he goes to bottom lane. He does pretty good with his roaming. He knows how to abuse that when I'm not around. But the second time around, it doesn't go so well for him. And plus, he kind of doesn't have, a lot of, spunk to contest with. He's 0-2. He doesn't have a lot of items. He hasn't one single item that's completed. Alright then, so once again we go into bottom lane. And this time I do make a slight misplay, but nonetheless it's a pretty interesting one because I tried to dive into their back line and Thresh kind of sees me here. Oh wait, no. Yeah, Thresh went through there? Okay, so ult Vayne. I get 2 Qs onto her. I try to flash over there, but she condemns me. I jump back to my ultimate shadow and get the Q onto her eventually. But we're gonna see how that played out again. I want to see how that worked in slow motion. Come on. Let's go back here. So, I walk up to her ultimate. So fine, so simple. I get my mark onto her. I get one. I think I had 2 Qs. I don't know if that was 1 or 2. I think that was 2. And I got Aerie onto her. She auto-attacks me. Second auto-attack. I flash over because I wanted to E. She instant condemns me. Minions aggro her. She manages to proc her passive. I jump to my shadow from the ultimate. And I Q. But die in the process. Which I guess wasn't told. I don't know if that was worth it or not, but I did get the shutdown gold. So it wasn't totally bad. Still, I guess I should not have died there. I think that was a little too greedy. Then again, I don't play that much, but he's a pretty fun champion. It's just when enemies realize how to fight you, and especially look at their enemy team right now. This composition is pretty much anti-Zed. You have Kayle, whose ultimate pretty much cancels out your ultimate, and you can't jump Kayle. You can't. Then there's Vayne. Sure, you can ult her, but if she has her own ultimate and can become invisible and tumble away, you'll have a harder time hitting your Qs onto her. Thresh and Rek'Sai are both tanky. You're gonna have the time of your life trying to do anything towards them. Ironically, the only one that you can hurt is Zed in this particular scenario is Azir, so the only solution is to snowball this lane even harder, and that's pretty much what we do. Alright then, so I guess the early game is pretty clear so far. Farm safely, and use your W to zone people off of their own CS. Keep damaging them, and if you get ganks, just follow up, and you certainly have enough damage to always be a threat to people, and use your mobility to jump around and dodge damage, and at the same time make sure you hit as many Qs as you can, because with your full combo you can hit 3 Qs for insane amounts of damage. But we're gonna end this with what I thought was the most spectacular kill of the game. There's Azir full life, level 9, and I tower dive him. I ult, I land onto him, he ults, he manages to ult me. I W and Q, I eat him, and I think the proc of my ultimate killed him. So how did this work? How did my ultimate do so much damage? Let's take a look at this again. I want to see with how much damage he died to my ultimate. Let's take a look at this in a little quicker motion. Look at that. My ultimate took away half of his HP, and the way this works is Zed's ultimate does more damage the more HP he lost while having, or the more damage you do the more while he had this debuff. And so I pretty much got my full combo onto him. And what else is there for Deathmark to do than to obliterate someone? That's essentially how to use your ultimate as well. Use your ultimate and then dump your entire combo onto someone, and if they're squishy, they're most likely dead. So everybody, that is gonna do it for this guide of how to win your early lane with Zed into Azir. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, every pony. Bye bye.